AITA for not getting my daughter a cabin. AITA for not getting my oldest her own cabin. I have 4 kids, 20 F18 F18 F and 12 meters. We're planning to do a vacation to Athens soon and are planning to stay in an inclusive resort. To get to Athens we plan to take a 6-hour ferry. We booked a regular seat for €40 and it would be an afternoon trip, so there's no need for a cabin. My oldest on the other hand wants a private cabin that will be €150 just to have privacy and to take a nap, which she doesn't need a room for TBH. I don't think it'll be fair to give her a private room while the others don't have one. It'll especially be unfair to the twins, and getting all of us a cabin would be around €500, which is a waste. Now my oldest is complaining about how I'm not giving her privacy and I care about the other kids' feelings more than her. Should I get her a cabin or should I get all of us a cabin? AITA for not wanting to name our kid after my wife's late husband. Before my wife, Anna 30F and I 30 meters got together, she was previously married to Caleb. They were high school sweethearts, got married at 20, and when they were 23, he was hit by a drunk driver and passed. Anna and I have been together for 5 years, married for 2. We are going to have a son very soon. Here and we have agreed on a first name. However, she wants his middle name to be Caleb, after her late husband. I told her I am uncomfortable with this as she is married to me now, and we should not be naming our kid after a previous partner that she had. She said that Caleb was a very large part of her life and she isn't going to budge with that middle name. She said that since our son is going to have my last name, she should be able to choose the middle name. We have come to an impasse and cannot agree with this. She is calling me insensitive and that I knew how important Caleb is to her. AITA, camping in the Aussie outback. My wife and I were heading to a popular destination in the Red Center when we finished driving for the night, pulled over in a rest area and set up our swag. We were asleep at 01:00 when a bunch of highly intoxicated, unruly larrikins pulled up and started really disrupting the peace, screaming and yelling and making a huge racket. At the time, we didn't know how safe we were into Z. So we pulled each other closer and waited for them to pass out. At dawn the next day, these idiots were still passed out just a few meters from us. I drive an old diesel 60 series Land Cruiser with a nice big, free-flowing exhaust system on it loud. For the next part of our journey, we had finished on the corrugated dirt track and were getting on the blacktop, so I needed to pump my tires up to road pressures. As the sun was starting to rise, I fired my old diesel engine up, nobody else around other than us, and let it run. I got out my air compressor, lifted the bonnet and hooked it up to pump up my 4 tires even louder and more annoying than the car engine. Smiley face, smiley face. They all woke up and looked around to see what that awful noise was, but appeared to be pretty badly hungover. It must have taken me about 15 minutes to pump all my tires up. Sucked in, assholes. Deny me a raise because you want to steal my husband? Enjoy unemployment. Many moons ago, think early 2000s, I worked for a small tech company in the Midwest. I started out as a customer service rep. My husband also worked there in a higher level position in a different department. There was an office manager there who did not like me at all when I got hired. She originally was a billing rep, and got moved to the office manager position when the original one who hired me quit. As an added note, her brother also worked there in the same department as my husband. I was pretty much a model employee, my stats were great, I was always on time, and customer feedback surveys were always glowing when I was on shift. However, it seemed like she had it out for me, because she was always trying to find something to nitpick about my performance. I divulged all this to my husband, and he admitted that prior to us getting together, and before I was hired, she had expressed interest in dating him, but he rejected her. I complained to the owner, but he pretty much just shrugged it off, because she had been there forever and he didn't want to rock the boat. Come performance review time and she gave me a terrible review, and a tiny raise, along the lines of everyone else on the team getting 50 cents to a dollar per hour raise, and she gave me a nickel. About 6 months later, there was a big shake up in the company, and the general manager and 2 higher level people from my husband's department left to work at another company who did the same type of business. Shortly thereafter, a couple big accounts my boss was pursuing ended up going to the other company, thinking that perhaps information about the accounts he was trying to land was leaked to the other company. He sent a couple people home with pay for 2 days while he investigated, including the office manager who hated me. On day 2, he met with the team and confirmed that there was no leak, so he would be bringing the workers back in. Cue PettyRevenge. I had found the office manager's blog some time ago, and she had been posting frequent updates since the shakeup. When she was sent home, she posted multiple updates about the situation, including how she figured the owner would screw up payroll, not pay taxes, and get in trouble with the IRS. She also posted some pretty derogatory things about the owner. She did make a feeble attempt to keep it anonymous by spelling everyone's names backwards and making up a fake name for the company, but it was very clear it was her and our company she was talking about. After the team meeting, I asked to meet with my boss alone and showed him all the posts. He dug in and found even more damning stuff she had written, including how she couldn't stand me and wanted to get me fired. I hadn't even seen that post until then. I couldn't contain my shit-eating grin when she returned to the office, only to be told to pack up her stuff and go. Within a year I had a big pay bump and a promotion to management, and I assume she is off somewhere making people miserable. Did I say that? My mother started dating my dad's best friend immediately after he died. There's no official proof that they started before, but they were seen together. Tonight, I had to return something to my mom. I walked in her house and they were already in bed. Knocked on the door, they said come in. I responded, is it safe? They laugh a little and say yes. I used that opening to tell my mom of the time I was 9 and had growing pains at night. I went to wake her up and when she didn't respond to the knocking, I opened the door and walked in on her and my dad in adult time. Nothing like reminding my dad's best friend that he's in my dad's bed with my dad's wife. Evil grandmother digs through my trash and will love what she finds. I moved back home last year to live with my parents. My evil grandmother lives here too. When I say evil, I mean this woman is absolutely batshit crazy. Does things like when I'm doing a load of laundry, she'll lurch out of her room and quietly stand behind me while muttering things under her breath like, you ungrateful bitch, I hate you, wow don't you know everything. Other examples include graffitiing all over my bottle of mouthwash with smiley faces and devil faces and do not leave on the counter since she didn't like that I left my mouthwash on the counter apparently. She will talk about me out loud when she is in the bathroom adjacent to my room when she knows I am home, or even at 4 a.m. when she thinks I'm asleep. She is a living hell and I cannot wait to move out. Recently I found her digging through the trash can, going through the trash I just put in the bin. When I confronted her, she said that I never recycle and she has to fix everything because I am a lazy brat. So to clear things up, I have ADHD and major depression, so my room often goes uncleaned for weeks or months. When I finally have a good day, I clean everything and just grab anything I see as trash and throw it in a big bag. It can get overwhelming trying to sort everything, but the big things like cardboard boxes or big bottles, so this kind of giant sweep approach helps me not get overwhelmed and actually make good progress. The actual recycling she is referring to is some papers, broken hangers, or small food boxes. I don't believe that her passion for recycling extends further than her strange obsession with me. Anyways, onto the petty revenge. A few days later I got a new trash bag. Filled it with some normal trash as well as some recycling. Just for fun I threw in some condoms filled with lotion, my used tampon, and some cat poop from the litter box. Made a big point of walking past her to the trash can, with large water bottles sticking out from the bag, and slamming the lid. I came back inside and a few minutes later, she went out to the trash bin and started digging. She didn't say anything, but she now seems to be leaving me alone. ETA she has been to multiple doctors, even therapists and psychiatrists in the recent years, and has not been diagnosed with dementia. I have asked my mother to ask doctors about this specifically after seeing the ads on TV for aggressive dementia, and as she accompanies her to every appointment, there has been no diagnosis or suggestion. Yes, this may change, but knowing and living with her for the last 10 years on and off, she has always been bitter, obsessive, angry, and hostile to at least one person in the house at a time. I used to be close with her growing up and my mother and sister were her targets. This has changed in recent years, mainly since I was freed from the TTI back in 2019. Ever since coming home she has hated me, did not hate me when I left. I would even write her letters. This woman has too much time on her hands and spends all day in bed watching CNN. I believe the crazy things she does and arguments she starts are the most interesting part of her day. That is my theory at least, and we will see how things pan out after the next few years. I will hopefully move out soon. How much damage do I cause? I had a funny haha moment when I thought I'd sell cars. I got a job at a John Elway used car lot and I realized this wasn't me for during training. My friend worked there and helped me get the job. I waited until the place closed and then told my boss it wasn't for me. My boss of one day loudly says, "No, this isn't for you, little buddy." I'm 6 and weigh 205 and I'm still close to my college soccer days physique. My boss was much taller and weighed at least 100 pounds more. Technically, I was little compared to him. After saying goodbye, I walk out, except the door is locked and I sorta walk into door. Manager laughs. Everyone else with him laughs. He makes a big production of unlocking the door for me and asks me if I need help finding my car. More laughs. That night I realize I earn 1 day of minimum wage pay and I want it. So I call human resources and they route me to my boss. He is incredulous that I want my day's pay, but you didn't do anything. Too bad, I still want it. I end up hanging up on him and call human resources back and tell them to give me my pay or I'll call wage labor. They agree to give it to me tomorrow. I go early to not interrupt anything. I have to wait in the lobby. Boss makes a joke about me that I can't hear, but he and his boys have another laugh at me. They all go into a room for a sales meeting and the boss leaves a fist-sized ring of keys on his desk. Lady brings me my check and I drive to the bank, deposit my check and toss a ring of keys into the trash. I got a lot of calls that day from the car lot, but I was too busy walking my dog to return their calls and hear what they wanted. I started studying by night because of the neighbor below. I am a student at a university. I am 35 years old and have a house in a different town, but I'm currently living part-time in a student corridor. The house is built 1955. Sounds will travel through the building. I am a quiet type of neighbor. Almost never listens to music. Mostly studies on my computer. I read and drink tea. Lots of tea. Most of the time, I'm not even there. Only a few days a week month. In my area, this is the cheapest accommodation you can find. It does its job. I am quite happy about it. Then, a new neighbor moved in below. One day, she knocked on my door and asked me if I used the new furniture cups she gave me. What furniture cups? The one I left in your mailbox. I explained to her that my mail comes to my house, meaning I only check the mailbox once a month or so, to get the student newspaper. I get the furniture cups and puts them on my chair. She left them together with a note about me making loud and inappropriate sounds. I do not. Whatever. I'll use them, if it helps her. Fact about the chair itself is part of the room. Since I rent it furnished. I am not buying an office chair on wheels for her sake, not happening. One day later, she finds me on Facebook and is upset my chair is still making sound. She also informs me to stop moving furniture around. I do not understand WTF she is saying. She also states she want to compromise by asking me to sleep at the same times as her, 10 in the evening to 8 in the morning. I inform her this will not happen, however, I will get a carpet. She says it's not fair I get to make sounds so that she can't sleep. Says that it makes it impossible for her to focus on her lectures by day. Next time I am at my house, I take a small carpet with me. When I get back, she still complains about the sound and want me to study sitting in my bed. I inform her I will not do this, not that she has anything to do with it, but I have an actual permanent back injury affecting my nerves and I will not study in my bed. I need a chair. She starts banging at the ceiling every time I make a move. If I use my kettle, if I use my chair, even if I use the bathroom, she obviously wants me to be as quiet as I am when I am not there. Then she complains to the landlord. They email me about it being prohibited to make loud sounds between 10 in the evening to 8 in the morning. I explain politely to the landlord that the girl downstairs is insane. They are understanding and inform me they will try to speak with her. I also check her Facebook profile. It says she is studying law. For some reason I find this kind of funny, because she acts like the loud sound rule can be used to interfere with me actually using my room like a normal person, and has quoted the landlord's rules about loud sounds after 10 like it's Swedish law or something. It is not, and it would take a lot more for the landlord to do anything. She also reminds me about lawyers I have spoken to in my work life that tries to use their title to get better treatment than normal clients and threatens you if you don't comply. Yesterday I got back from my house after 3 weeks studying from there, because I need to get to some seminars, examination and stuff. 20 minutes past 10 she start making banging sounds at the ceiling. I am 35 years old. I normally go to sleep at midnight at the latest. I am not some party animal like some of my other neighbors who are nice people BTW. I have had no real plans to begin living like when I was 20 and was up all night. Well, I guess I am not studying in the mornings like I plan to. I'm going to begin studying by night every time I am here, and especially if she starts hitting her ceiling. Usually the course I go to begin quite late on the day, so this is not an issue. I blocked her on Facebook. I waited in line to tell teacher I need to true up. In schools in my country, we have something called after school care, which is when parents can't pick up their children. There, kids usually do their homework for the day and then play afterwards. When we finish our homework, we give it to the teacher. She checks it and returns it if something is wrong. I handed in my homework and it was wrong, so the teacher returned it to me. Then I started feeling nauseous, my stomach hurt, and I went to ask the teacher, but she told me to stand in line. She thought I want her to check my homework. I went back in line and waited. I really believed I had to wait in line, but about 3 students before the end, it started. I threw up on the floor and on some ball that happened to be there. The teacher sent me to the bathroom and called the janitor, and later my dad to pick me up. I got a lecture about priorities, and at the time, it wasn't funny, but I saw that teacher a few days ago, and it reminded me of the story, and now I'm laughing. My traditional grandmother asked me a question and wasn't happy with my answer. So a little bit of background for context. I 32F am the oldest of the grandkids and am a first-generation Australian, with an Eastern European background. My father's side moved here when he was quite young, so he didn't have too much trouble getting accustomed to the Aussie lifestyle. My grandparents on the other hand decided that they were too old to fit in, so they instead made friends with other similar oldies, never really adapting to the differences between the two countries and maintaining very traditional views. When I was 18, I fell madly in love with a boy in my grade. He happened to be from a neighboring Eastern European country, which shared a lot of cultural similarities. Since I was the oldest, I was the first to date outside of nationality. When we first started dating, my grandma made a few unsavory remarks about him and his country, but nothing that was concerning enough to address, so I just ignored them. After all, we were taught to respect our elders. Over the course of the relationship her comments increased, which annoyed me greatly, leading me to very politely tell her to shut up, but to her pleasure, the relationship ended after 3 years not related to her comments. When she discovered the news, she joyfully asked me a question that annoyed me greatly, so I responded, "Grandma, did you learn your lesson?" Me, excuse me? Grandma, did you learn your lesson? Me, what lesson are you talking about? Grandma, are you going to date nice Eastern European boy now? Me, thinking, what if I don't want to date a nice Eastern European boy? What if I wanted to date a nice Eastern European girl instead? Grandma went instantly pale and yelled no. My mom yelled at me for upsetting my grandma and I walked away giggling. My uncle, who liked to make fun of me, chipped his tooth. When I was a teenager, I had braces and also got a nose piercing. My uncle thought this was funny and would joke about me having enough shrapnel in my face and the such, to which I always laughed, but he was very persistent in pointing it out every time I saw him. One day, my uncle chipped one of his front teeth somehow. It was still broken when we visited next, so when I saw him I took the opportunity to say, "You gotta stay out of those hockey fights, eh, uncle?" To which he just grumbled and changed the subject. I don't think he commented on my face metal after that. Whoops, slippy hands. I grew up in a British pub. For those not sure what this is, think of a bar with an attached home where the people who own the bar live. We had a variety of regular customers, some were really nice and we saw them as friends, others were not so nice and a few were just entitled pains. These days we would call them Karens, but this was back in the 1980s and we just called them pains. There was one in particular who really made a point of being just unpleasant. He was rude, demanding, and walked around the bar as if he owned the place. My parents were quite tolerant as long as he was paying for beer then he got served. There was never so much as a thank you, and to be honest, he wasn't the highest paying customer we had. I started working for my parents at weekends. I would clean tables and I would wash up the glasses. This was before dishwashers were common in pubs, so I washed them all by hand in hot water with detergent. I soon became the target for this guy's snide comments. I'd not washed the glasses properly. I'd not cleaned the tables properly. He wanted a clean ashtray. Any little thing he could complain about he did. The day came that the beer glasses we used were not good enough for him and he decided to bring in his own special beer glass. It was a different shape to the regular glasses we used, tulip rather than nonic, so we knew exactly whose it was. He would always bring it to the end of the bar where I was working and demand I took it, washed and dried it and placed it in a specific place on the bar. Being good publicans, we humored him and his glass was washed, dried and put away every time he finished drinking. This guy's antics continued, but I soon went to university and only came home infrequently. I still helped behind the bar when I did, and as I had turned 18, I could also serve drinks. I'd not seen the guy for a few months and was serving beer when he came in. I poured his beer into a normal glass without thinking. His response was pretty typical and he asked how someone as stupid as me could get to university yet still be incapable of pouring a beer into a specific glass. The comments continued for the rest of the evening. I was washing glasses as I saw him get up to leave and I saw the glass was going to be left in its usual place with the dematted, was washed, dried and put in its own special location. I didn't dry my hands, walked up to where he was standing, picked up the glass, dropped it on the floor and said, "Whoops, I'm so stupid. Perhaps I should have dried my soapy hands before picking that glass up." I strolled off, picked up a brush and dustpan, swept up the broken glass and dropped it all in the glass bin.